Amnish Aggarwal joins into the show right now. Amnish, what's the message out there? Wait for clarity. What happens between China and US and where this entire trade war is going to head, and then see where the dust settles down?
Yeah, hi. Aisha, I think it is too volatile a situation because it's not something that there is some announcement which comes and the things settle down. So every day we are, you can say, witnessing, for example, today your tariffs on China to go up by another 50% or pharma to come under. I think it is too volatile a situation uh, to make any fresh bets in the market at this point of time. And I don't think you can say the direction it is taking, that I'm not hopeful that it is going to settle too soon. I think it is going to take its own sweet time. I don't know, maybe 3 months, 6 months. Uh, and it is going to be a very, very volatile year, both in terms of, say, global economy, overall growth, as well as in the markets.
Okay, that's the take right now on the markets. Having said that, Amnish, news flow, of course, is not going to stop, right? You've got the RBI credit policy announcement coming in today. Then you've got TCS's numbers. Then all of the IT will come out with the earnings. And, we are going to officially kickstart the earnings for this quarter. Let's first start with the RBI. What do you think is going to sort of at least please the markets, if not make them completely happy or thrilled? Because, this is a global situation. We really need to see how globally things pan out with US's stance as opposed to tariffs. But what do you think the RBI can do at its end?
You see, the simple thing is that this time around, because the inflation is also under control and there is quite a bit of volatility, I think while RBI will definitely make a comment on that, but 25 bips rate cut is something which seems to be, you can say, more like a certainty as of now. And I think then in the coming few months, what happens on your inflation front, how the monsoon pans out, I think these are some of the factors which will pan out how the rate cuts happen. But now, given the volatile situation, given the global backdrop, beyond the rate cuts which are expected today, I think one or two more rate cuts maybe you can say happening over the next 3 to 6 months.
All right, Amnish, the other thing that everybody is watching out for is definitely the recent news flow around tariff, 104% tariff being announced on China. Do you believe, is there a case in any sector to watch out for in India, which could be a beneficiary if China has this setback and India has an opportunity to grow in any of these sectors?
You see, it is easier said than done because the supply chain realignments, it doesn't happen in a day. Okay. Now, there might be, you can say, some sectors where India directly competes or we are having sufficient capacity. Maybe you can say something in, say, your home textiles, maybe you can say LGDs, where China is a market leader, India is number two. So there could be, you can say, solitary cases here or there where India could be beneficiary, but we shouldn't forget that in large, you can say in the overall products or the consumer baskets, it is not only India, it is countries like Vietnam, Taiwan, Thailand, Turkey. So there are a lot of countries which are going to vie for lot of such like products. So it is not simply saying that it is a case of, say, China plus one or things like that, because ultimately China is the largest trading partner of US, and if you increase the duties, supply chain realignment is going to take time, and ultimately the cost is going to rise for US consumer. So how the US consumer behave, how the demand behaves over there, and to what extent Indian companies will be able to exploit that opportunity, I think only we will come to only over the next 3 to 6 months. So it is all like making, you can say, conjecture at this point of time. So as far as your tariffs on China going is concerned, I think it is not a very, very pleasant situation even for India, because in some of the products where Chinese have got huge capacities, I foresee increased dumping happening from China in many of the commodities, and which actually might start pressurizing the Indian industry much more than what we have seen in the past, you can say, few years.
Okay, Amnish, stay with us. Let's hear out from the Union Minister of Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal. He emphasized last evening on the bilateral trade deal between India and the US amid the tariff environment, and said that the engagement with the US is going well and that all is well.
Working on a bilateral trade agreement, as was decided between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump in February. We have had a series of engagements. All of them are going well in the right direction. Obviously, we are covering a very wide array of subjects, a very wide array of products, and I can assure business persons across the country that we are keeping the best interests of India at the forefront of our discussions. India first is our mantra, is our guiding principle, and our bilateral trade agreement with the United States of America will power the economy towards Viksit Bharat 2047.
All right, so those are the comments coming in from Piyush Goyal. But Amnish, we will be starting the results season soon. So help us understand that specifically from the IT space, what are you penciling in, and especially on the commentary front, where do you see the key commentary to be focused on this time? Because the street is definitely not having much of an expectation. What's been happening in the US markets, the recessionary fears are definitely hitting hard on the IT space. But give us your sense that what is that you will be watching out for?
You see, we had recently cut our estimates anywhere between, say, 5 to 7% for most of the IT names. And as we stand today, I think the IT sector is in a bit of flux, because any which ways your demand from Europe was very soft. Demand from auto segment and some of the ER&D segments are soft. And now with this trade war starting, and if it results in some sort of a lower growth or some sort of a, you can say, recession happening in parts of US, then I think Indian IT services companies, they are going to be on the receiving end. So my sense is that as we go along, if this trade war escalates and the way it seems to be, there is a probability of more earnings cut and a softer commentary from most of the IT companies. So if you ask me, it is very, I think, except the fact that they are trading on good free cash yields, the companies have good cash flows on their side, they are good dividend paying companies, but in terms of growth, I think the visibility there looks extremely poor at this point of time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Uncertain times, and I don't think IT companies would have any visibility either, depending on how the entire US situation pans out. But, just getting back to what Piyush Goyal said, and he's also likely to meet exporters and industry representatives today, by the way, mainly to get a feedback and brief exporters on the 26% reciprocal tariffs by the US. In fact, Sumit Chaturvedi, my colleague, is here more to tell us about, what could transpire at this meeting.
Commerce Minister of India, Piyush Goyal, is going to hold a very important meeting with exporters today. The important meeting comes at a time when reciprocal tariffs from US have been announced. They are coming into effect from April 9 today only, and that's why exporters are in a way want to know what is the plan of overall Indian government going to be, what is their feeling, what are they thinking. That's why this meeting between Piyush Goyal, Commerce Minister, and exporters is important. Remember, the tariffs are on many goods, even including pharma, and its effect was already felt when the tariffs were announced. Now, exporters, they have asked for certain incentives also from the government side. On the other hand, government is of the view that they are ready to extend all possible help to exporters, and they also want to know from their side what should be the feedback when it comes to signing a bilateral trade agreement with the US is concerned. Remember, US and India are engaged in talks as far as BTA is concerned. It is to be sealed by the fall of this year, and Indian exporters' feedback on that will be very important. So today's meeting assumes significance in the light of all these problems being faced by exporters from different sectors, including auto parts, gems, jewelries, and other sectors.